So I have had both iPhones since launch day, the more affordable iPhone 11 and the astronomically expensive 11 Pro Max here. I've been using them consistently, comparing their nuances, and I finally feel qualified to give you a full comparison here, comparing each of their aspects, and helping you decide which one you should buy. And some people are going to be like, well, why would you compare them? We obviously know that the 11 Pro Max is better. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this comparison is to highlight the differences between these two devices, some of which make this phone more desirable in order to help you determine whether you should be spending or saving $300 to $400. But before we continue here, I'd really appreciate it if you'd leave a like on this video, comment if you have any questions, suggestions, or opinions, as the algorithm likes that and will help push my content to more people. So without wasting any more time here, let's jump into my full comparison of the iPhone 11 versus the iPhone 11 Pro Max. Beginning with design here, as we know, both these phones inherited very similar designs to their previous iterations, with the same subtle differences like the change in the camera module look, the shift of the Apple logo, but the major differences between these two devices are in build material and just the overall size and weight. With the iPhone 11 Pro Max here, we get stainless steel, and although it looks really nice and feels very premium, it does add a lot of weight to this phone, on top of it being bigger than the iPhone 11. So in my case, whenever I wear shorts, this phone is sagging my pants. So although I love the design and the feel, it is a very hefty device. The iPhone 11, on the contrary, is crafted out of aluminum, and although it doesn't feel as premium, I think it looks very nice, especially with this teal color, and it's just much lighter on top of this phone being smaller than the iPhone 11 Pro Max. So if I am wearing shorts or like gym pants or track pants, this phone is not weighing my pocket down, and overall I don't feel it as much in my pocket in comparison to this brick of a device that is the 11 Pro Max. There's also a difference in back glass material. We have glossy glass with the iPhone 11, which is very much like the XR and the previous XS models, whereas with the 11 Pro, we have matte glass for the most part. And as you can see, the glass surrounding the camera modules here, which have been redesigned, contrast the glass that makes up most of the back. So we have matte glass here, and we have glossy glass here with the 11 Pro Max. I happen to like both textures for different reasons. With the 11 Pro Max, it kind of feels like aluminum. That's what my friend Isaac said, and I couldn't agree more. It's a very coarse texture, and I kind of like it. Whereas with the 11, we get this, really shiny, glossy glass, which is, beautiful in its own way here. I kind of miss it from my XS Max, not gonna lie. But yeah, this is purely a preference thing. I happen to enjoy both and wouldn't mind using either of these. But if this is a big thing to you, obviously go to the store and feel them for yourself. And in regard to their speaker quality, both feature really nice stereo setups. However, the 11 Pro Max, as you could imagine, it being more expensive, features a louder and just more fuller sound. It's like probably 25% better than what you get with the 11 here. So if music listening and YouTube watching, just the audio quality is very important to you, then it might be worth buying this phone. But I mean, if you're using headphones all the time like I am, you're not going to notice much of a difference. And the 11 does offer a really crisp and loud experience, and it is better over the last gen XR. So to sum things up with design here, with the iPhone 11, you get a slightly lesser speaker setup and a slightly cheaper feel with the aluminum, but you get awesome colorways here like this teal, and this phone proves to be a lighter weight and more compact device. Two things that I really do enjoy about it: I forget that it's in my pocket, whereas with the 11 Pro Max, you do get stainless steel, which looks awesome and feels awesome, but you get this really hefty, big phone, which can sometimes sag in your pocket if you wear particular types of pants, and you also get, matte glass, which might feel better or cooler to you. Next up, let's talk display quality here, and this is a bigger difference than the overall design or aesthetic of these phones, I would say here. We have a 6.1-inch liquid crystal retina display that was introduced with the iPhone XR, with the iPhone 11, that was a mouthful, and then with the iPhone 11 Pro Max, we have a 6.5-inch Super Retina XDR display, and there's no avoiding this. This display is just way better. It just is, in terms of contrast, brightness, sharpness, color, everything about it is better. Obviously, you're spending more money on it, and it's OLED versus LCD, so of course contrast is going to be different. But are these displays, so different that it makes the iPhone 11 an unenjoyable experience? Absolutely not the case, despite the fact that, once again, the overall image quality is not as good. It's not as bright. The bezels are overall thicker. YouTube watching, media consumption, navigating through the UI is absolutely fine. I have no problem with it. If I had to live with this phone, I would be just fine, even coming from this phone. Although I prefer this phone, once again, in terms of the overall sharpness and the overall color, it's brighter outside, etc. I can live with this phone and be happy with it. If you put these in a room together, this display is going to look better. But if you're just using this by itself, this is your only device, you're not going to be missing out on too much, I would say, because once again, the size is similar, and I would say the size with the 11 is advantageous because you can actually sort of one-hand this device, which is something you absolutely cannot do with the 11 Pro Max, and that is something I enjoy about the sort of compact nature with the 11. So, you know, although you get a lesser quality display, it is smaller, it is more compact, and it's somewhat of the sweet spot, I would say, in terms of the iPhone lineup. I personally think that the 11 Pro is too small for me. The 11 Pro Max can sometimes be a little bit too big, but the iPhone 11's display is just right. Both have haptic touch too, gone are the days of 3D touch, so there really is no other advantage with this display other than image quality and the OLED, you know, nature, which can get you some better screen on time. But yeah, do you have to spend an extra $300 to $400 on this device? What I can tell you is, once again, kind of reiterating some of my points, it's brighter, it's going to be sharper, especially if you put your eye up to the display. It's going to have better colors. The size is bigger, so you might like that. The keyboard scales a little bit bigger. I do actually like that about this device. But I mean, from a regular seeing distance, I can't tell too much of a difference with the sharpness. Do I think you should spend the extra money if you don't need to? No, I think you'd be really happy with the display on here, despite the fact that it's not 1080p and it's not OLED. It's a fine display, I would say fine for most people. And if you're not a nut, I see no reason to spend an extra chunk of change on something you're not going to really appreciate. But if you're somebody who's more techie, if you can tell the difference, if you go to the store and you're like, yes, this is what I want every day, you know, I really do enjoy this, this is kind of my case, then this device may be worth it to you, and spending that extra chunk of change may be justified. Moving on to battery life here, this is another substantial difference between these two devices. Apple promises an additional hour of screen on time with the 11 over the XR, whereas with the iPhone 11 Pro and Pro Max, Apple promises an additional 4 hours, and that figure is pretty much true, I would say. It makes a big difference for me in comparison to my last generation XS Max. The battery with my Pro Max drains very, very slowly. I can get through a whole morning with like 10 to 15% of the whole charge of my battery, so I'm like coming home from school, let's just say, with like 85% left, and that is very, very impressive. Whereas with the XR, I think I may have come home with like 65%, maybe 70% of the battery remaining. So what does that translate to? I would say the 11 Pro Max can be like a 2-day phone. You know, if you don't charge it, if you don't have access to a charger all the time, this can last you, I would say, like a mixture of 2 days of like moderate usage, maybe like a day and a half of heavy usage. Whereas with the iPhone 11 here, I would say it lasts you the whole day just fine, but good luck trying to make it into 2. You could possibly make it into 1.5, but you're probably gonna have to charge though. And that makes sense because this device has an LCD panel. It's not as power efficient. You also get a fast charger in the box with the iPhone 11 Pro Max, whereas with the iPhone 11 you just get the regular 5-watt charger. Luckily for you, there are a lot of great and cheaper alternatives to Apple's fast charger, like this one that Ugreen sent me here. So you can get similar fast charging performance with this Ugreen PD fast charging combo here for less than the cost of the Apple fast charging brick. Both these devices together cost less than $29, which is the price of the Apple brick. You can get these two for around 25, 26, 27 bucks, and that's without a 30% discount on each of these components here. So I will leave a link in the video description if you're interested in this awesome Apple fast charging alternative offered by Ugreen. So to wrap things up with battery here, if you're a really heavy user, you're always on your phone, you're doing gaming, web surfing, video watching all day, every day, you know, if you want a 2-day device, then the 11 Pro or the 11 Pro Max is going to be the right phone for you. But if you're just fine, you know, plugging in to charge after a day and a half, you don't need 2-day battery life, then the iPhone 11 should suit you very fine. And also keep in mind, with the iPhone XR, which has the same battery life as this device, last year it was the best performing iPhone with screen on time, so it's no joke. This will last you a while. However, this device, the 11 Pro Max, will just last you a lot longer. Next up, let's quickly go over camera performance here, because really the two major differences between these two devices are the lack of, or the additional telephoto lens you get with the 11 Pro Max that's missing on the 11, and the additional feature that is Deep Fusion that comes with the 11 Pro, which means you can take like awesome looking images that are stitched together by Apple's Neural Engine in medium lighting conditions. I've yet to test that out, but that is a significant feature. But in terms of taking images and photos with these phones' corresponding sensors and lenses, you know, the ultra wide and the wide, the image quality is exactly the same. both take really awesome photos and videos here with better dynamic range in comparison to last year, better sharpness, better contrast, colors, etc. Other than the fact that you have, more zooming options with the 11 Pro with the additional telephoto lens. And if you do have a knack for photography or videography, then I might say that the telephoto is worth it this year. It actually performs a lot better. Things look sharper with it in comparison to the XS. So it's definitely a decent addition here, but what I say, is it worth $300 to $400 more for most people? No. You're not going to need it for most situations. The 1X or the regular wide angle shooter is good enough for most situations anyway. So if you're somebody who doesn't need that additional lens or that deep fusion feature, then go with the iPhone 11. The image quality in terms of video and photo are going to be exactly the same. And even with the front-facing cameras here, you get the same resolution sensors here, the same wide angle feature, same slow fees, same portrait mode, everything. It's the same with the front camera and pretty much the same with the back cameras here. Both also feature a night mode, which works really, really well in low light conditions. Although it took Apple a little while to, bring this feature to the table, it works very well on both these devices. So I guess my general takeaway is, if you're somebody who wants to create with their phone, you want to replace a compact camera, say you shoot YouTube videos, I don't know, then the iPhone 11 Pro Max or 11 Pro is probably going to be worth it to you because of that additional telephoto lens. I find it useful in some situations, but not all situations. But if you're somebody who just wants to take general photo and video, you're not that much of a photographer, you're more of an amateur, you just take pictures of your kids, your friends, life in general, the iPhone 11 is more than good enough with the ultra wide camera and the wide angle camera that exists on it. And last up, let's very quickly go over performance with both these devices, because it's the same between them, because obviously they feature this same processor, the A13 here. The scores are basically identical. But yeah, in terms of everyday performance, navigating through the UI, gaming, opening apps, closing apps, everything is going to perform the exact same. Same GPU, same processor, the same immense power that you get with the A13. It truly is the best mobile, smartphone processor on the market right now. The only difference that I can tell between these two devices is just with animations. I don't know what it is, but I feel like the displays are to blame. I think the millisecond response time on this phone is just higher or not as good in comparison to this one. Someone also mentioned that the iPhone 11 Pro may have a 120 hertz refresh sample rate or something, even though the display on here is 60 hertz. Things just appear a little bit smoother on the 11 Pro Max. Not by much at all. This is just me being very nitpicky here. And is that extra amount of smoothness worth paying $300 to $400 for? Absolutely, positively not. So yeah, performance is like 99% similar between these two devices in terms of, gaming, intense tasks, everyday tasks, multitasking, app switching, etc. But I just gotta say, things just look a tiny bit smoother with the Pro Max, with that possible 120 hertz, sample rate, or, a better response time with the OLED display on this phone. And that about wraps things up here. Once again, I'd really appreciate it if you'd leave a like on this video, comment if you have any questions, suggestions, or opinions, and subscribe for more content like this. Once again, if you want to spend $300 to $400 more on this device, you're going to get an obviously better display, a slightly better camera, better battery life, a more premium, heavier design, and maybe that's worth it to you. Obviously go to the store to confirm that to be true, but the iPhone 11 is a great value phone, and you're not going to regret buying it if you don't necessarily need a better display, an additional lens, So definitely check this out too. Obviously go to the store, make sure you know which phone you're going to buy before you buy it. You can't really go wrong with either of these devices, but again, I will say you really can't go wrong with this device, especially at its $699 sticker price. And as always, I'm Noah, and I will catch you all in the next one.